Well, in other news, China is set to host its annual show of military diplomacy this week. State media says some 500 representatives from more than 90 countries and international organizations have confirmed their attendance in the 11th edition of the Beijing Xiangshan Forum. Chinese officials say the forum is set to discuss a whole range of global challenges, with topics such as artificial intelligence, ongoing regional conflicts, and security in outer space on the agenda. According to Reuters, the U.S. is expected to send Michael Chase, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for China, Taiwan, and Mongolia, to Xiangshan. Citing an unnamed U.S. official, the news agency said that Mr. Chase's expected presence sends a message that the U.S. prioritizes engagement at the military level with China. Well, that points to signs of thawing defense ties. As CNA's Tan Si-hui reports, breakthroughs in the differences between the two countries on many major issues will be unlikely.
Promoting peace for a shared future. That's the theme of this year's Xiangshan Forum in Beijing. It's also an indication of what China aims to achieve with the annual security meeting.
China has always sought to play, and in more recent years, sought to play a mediator role. That is a tool in China's foreign policy portfolio. And we can expect this to continue. And certainly at the Beijing Xiangshan Forum is that if there is a possibility for China to play a mediating role on any issue, certainly for China to play such a role, I think it is to be welcome. And the challenge is in finding solutions after you bring the different parties on board, a solution that can lead to a more durable outcome going forward.
It takes place less than 2 months after China hosted a series of high-profile diplomatic meetings with parties in the Russia and Ukraine war and the conflict between Israel and Hamas. But the desire to be a mediator comes amid its own disputes with countries closer to home. Frequent clashes between Chinese and Philippine vessels in the disputed South China Sea have made international headlines on a daily basis in recent months, with Beijing and Manila blaming each other for provocative actions at sea. With tensions running high, analysts say it's timely for countries to use the Xiangshan Forum as a platform to manage differences.
Xiangshan Forum will provide an avenue for not only the claimant states, but for other countries to get a better sensing of each country's position. Each country's position is not new, but certainly there could be some nuances that could be gleaned from the Beijing Xiangshan Forum, and whether there is possibility of further exploration to find ways forward. It is important for China and the Philippines to try to work something out away from the media glare. And this is very important rather than play to the gallery.
With U.S.-China relations at what one Chinese analyst called the lowest point since ties were normalized in 1979, and both countries' frequent clashes over a slew of issues, having in-person communication through regional forums such as Xiangshan is critical.
The world needs to listen more and more to the voices of China and the United States and all the other major countries, and the Xiangshan Forum does provide a very good platform for all these voices to be aired and to be heard by all the other countries. The United States also need to walk the right walk, because otherwise talk the right talk doesn't mean a lot if they do not walk the right walk. And this applies to the One China policy, Taiwan being part of China. This applies to staying away from directly intervening in territorial disputes between China and the Philippines, for example. And this also applies to, let's say, China-Indian relations. Don't even try to bind India onto the bandwagon of the United States in its geopolitical rivalry against China, or in the new version of the Cold War against China.
But analysts say any meaningful shifts in positions by both sides will be unlikely, more so because Americans will be heading to the polls in November to elect a new president.
America great again.
The Xiangshan Forum returns the second year following a 3-year hiatus during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun is expected to host his counterparts from 90 countries, regions, and international organizations and deliver a speech. And this after China held the event last year in the absence of a defense minister following the sacking of Mr. Dong's predecessor, Li Shangfu. Tan Suhui, CNA, Beijing.